L'kai neshama shenasata b'tahira at the brasa, at the yitzarta, at the nefachta. What are these four levels? Tahira is where the neshama is in Atzilus. Brasa is the neshama coming down to Bria. Yitzarta is the neshama coming down to Yitzira. At the nefachta is when the neshama gets, Hashem blows the neshama into the in this world. So these are the four levels. The neshama goes through Atzilus, Bria, Yitzira, Asiyah to come down here. Which way is it? Is it that the main part of the neshama remains l'mayla and a small part is invested in the guf, or is it the reverse? The main part of the neshama is invested in the guf and a small part remains l'mayla.
No, most of the neshama is up and only
right. The main part of the neshama remains l'mayla. The small part of the neshama goes in the guf. Where do thoughts of tshuva come from when the person did nothing to make it happen? From where? What? Mazel. Mazel tov. That's from the mazel. Remember, he said that Baal Shem Tov says that in Shemayim they make certain announcements every day. And the question was, who hears it? If it's tzaddikim who hear it, they don't need to be inspired. They're already inspired. They don't need to hear Shuvu Banim Shevavim. Or there's another voice that says, Oilem, the Abbeinu Shal Torah. Woe to those people that insult the Torah. Tzaddikim don't need to hear that. And those people who need to hear it don't hear it. So who's it for? So the answer was that it's really for the other people. We don't hear it, but our neshama l'mayla hears it. And when the neshama l'mayla hears it, from there it flows to the neshama here. So a person could suddenly feel thoughts of tshuva, and that's where it's coming from. Where do new Torah insights also come to a person suddenly? And the answer is the same thing from the Mazel. How does the Alshich explain the words Lech Lecha? The whole Maimer is based on that. So what does he explain? Lech Lecha, go to you. What does it say to you? It should just say go.
You need to find yourself.
What?
You need to find yourself, your real self.
You have to find yourself.
Your real self.
Your
real self.
Real self. Your shirish. The shirish, go to your shirish and neshama. Be in touch with the essence, with the source of your neshama. Because the source of the neshama really feels and sees and hears. And the more I'm in touch with that, the more my learning, my davening, my mitzvahs would have more power to it. So what's the main point of this us? I would say the main point of this us is to explain the words of the Alshich. That Lech Lecha, but first, of course, to explain there is such a thing that the essence of the neshama stays up there, and is a part that comes down here. And Lech Lecha means to connect to our essence. That's what it means. Ois Beis. What does the ladder in Yaakov's dream represent? Tefillah. Why does the ladder have 4 rungs?
Because we have 4 walls that we go.
Okay. Why is davening divided into 4 parts?
Because
Yeah.
Because also the 4 worlds we and it's like the ladder, and also when you start you're in one world and then you go to the next one.
Right. I want to ask an interesting question. If Shemon Esrei is going up to the 4th world, Atzilus, what's after Shemon Esrei?
we can speak.
I know, but where are we going? We're already in Atzilus. Now what?
Connect with Hashem.
What?
We're connecting with Hashem.
So what's the next part of the davening? Asher v'alatzion, Liyoim, Enkelakenu, Aleinu.
We bring Hashem here.
Right, so it says that after the davening, then we sort of come back down and we bring down whatever we reached is not enough just to stay up there. Want to bring it down here. The one says the Chazan who was davening for the Ummah, davening as the Shliach Tzibur. He was davening very nicely, saying every word very slowly until Shemini Esrei. After Shemini Esrei, quick, as if he's rushing somewhere. So if he was rushing, why did he go so slow before? Anyway, so I asked him, how come after Shemini Esrei you're going so fast? So he said, downhill it goes much faster.
Good morning.
Good morning, Leah.
Good morning, Rabbi Majeski.
What is the objective? What do we want to accomplish in davening? Besides asking Hashem for what we need, what do you want to accomplish on our personal spiritual avodah? You can say what you're thinking. It's probably the right answer.
Connection?
Yeah, you want to connect to your Sherish and Neshama. That's the whole point of the Maimon. Number 5, what is the gateway through which the neshama comes down and goes up?
What do you mean? You have letters.
Shar, it's a shar that everything goes, the neshama goes up through that shar and goes down through that shar.
It's a sphere.
What?
It's a sphere.
No, actually not. Something in this world, this physical world.
First letter. Just
Hint. First letter is Aleph. It's the first letter of the Aleph base. Second letter is Reish. Another hint. Third letter is Tzaddik. Eretz Yisrael, right?
it was
Right. Yeah. How is it a good hint? Okay. What is the significance of the ladder standing on the land? So we just said because everything goes through the land. What is the main point of this ois? Is how everything that the neshama does to go up, and everything the neshama does, and when the neshama has to go down, it's all through Eretz Yisrael. Now he goes into explain what is Eretz on a personal level in Avodah. What is Eretz? Number 1, page 23. What attribute does Eretz represent on a personal level?
Like laziness?
Laziness? No. A good attribute. What?
Eretz is something שכולם don't step on her. Like if to be a numb, like even if everybody will still need it.
Right. Eretz is humility.
Standing on the land.
What?
Standing on the land.
Yeah. Would we define Yeshus and Bittul? What would be Yeshus? What would be Bittul?
Excessive sense of sight.
Is what?
Excessive sense of sight.
Yeah. And Bittul?
We have vessel to Hashem. To לבטל את עצמי הפרטי.
Right. Bittul means that my focus is not self. My focus is Hashem and to fulfill Hashem's will and purpose in creation. What is the klipa of Amalek? Amalek is also Yeshus, arrogance. How does that explain why Amalek attacked the Yidden going out of Mitzrayim? What was the reason? Nobody was threatening them. Nobody was bothering them. The Yidden were going out of Mitzrayim, and they came and they attacked. Why?
Because they say, they will not be more strong than us. We will go and just kill all of them. Because they hear all of the miracles that Hashem did to them in the time. I mean, they didn't even need to go through Amalek
So that should have stopped them. Why do they attack?
because they want to be the strongest. They want everybody to speak about it.
Right? Because Yeshus, what?
Fears that someone is gonna be stronger than that, but it's like it's like the
Right.
definition of self-esteem.
So because of Yeshus, they couldn't stand that the Yidden were so honored and so prominent and had such an amazing name, and they couldn't stand that Hashem was being made with such a great name in the world. How is Yeshus the source for chesed of Klippa? Really, he says in the Miami Yeshus is the source for everything. But he gives an example. Yeshus is the source for chesed of Klippa because just like in Kedush, there's chesed, Gevurah, Teferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchus, there's also chesed in Klippa. What's chesed in Klippa? What's chesed in Kedusha, may I ask?
And you do chesed l'Shem Shamayim.
But which character trait, which meaning would be chesed? What's chesed in Gevurah when you talk about Kedusha? Love and fear. Chesed is Ava, and Gevurah is Yira. So if that's in Kedusha, the same as in Klippa. Chesed of Klippa means love and passion, but for things that are inappropriate. So how did he explain, how is Yeshus a source for this passion and this taiva, all sorts of physical pleasures? Yeah.
I have a question. Isn't Amalek like in the Klippa that's like that cools you off? Wouldn't that be more like Gevurah Klippa?
That's another part of Amalek, yep. And he makes us cold. And he makes us have doubt. These are three things that it says about Amalek, but they're all interconnected. Amalek is yesh, Amalek is doubt in Hashem, and Amalek can't stand that we're passionate about anything spiritual. Amalek wants to cool us off. So it's all connected, but really the source of it all is the Yeshus. And because Amalek is Yeshus, it can't stand the passion, and also it denies Hashem. In other words, a person who's a Yesh can't accept an authority above them. So therefore they can't accept Hashem. Basically what he said was that, by the way, I gave you all these sheets, not in the booklet, so you can write and make notes. Eat it for supper or lunch, it's gone. Okay. If I would have known, I would have brought up more copies. Okay, how is Yeshus a source for chesed of Klippa? Because a person who's a Yesh, being that he's so obsessed with self and focused on self, so therefore, this person feels very important, very prominent, and he feels that he's entitled to everything, that if there's something out there, it's a good thing, then why shouldn't he have it? He should have it. And in fact, the more a yesh of a person, the more passionate he is. Like he described people that they will not rest until they get what they want. And they'll do all sorts of things, even risky things, to get what they want. Sometimes foolish things to get what they want. Because they can't stand to be told no because of Yeshus. And therefore, the Yeshus is the source of chesed of Klippa. So what's the main point of this ois? The main point of this ois I would write is the idea that before he spoke about Eretz, and now he's explaining what Eretz is. Spiritually, it's bittul. Eretz is bittul. In order to appreciate bittul, explain what is Yeshus. Perik Dalid. How is Yeshus the source for Gevurah of Klippa? What would be an example of Gevurah of Klippa?
Iran.
What?
Iran.
Iran?
Iran.
Oh, Yira. Okay. Yira in a bad way, afraid of the wrong. What's another example? What he mentions in the Maimer? Anger, violence, the tzitcha, that's Gevura of Klipa. And again, a person's a yesh, even in the beginning of Tanya, and you might remember which two things that they say are the element of fire. Remember in the beginning of Tanya, the first chapter, he says, what? Anger, and the other one?
Arrogance.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah, Leah is,
on fire.
so anger and arrogance. In simple interpretation, we say fire is anger because it's this fiery energy, and it's arrogance because fire has the nature to go up. Earth and water go down. Air doesn't go down, but it doesn't go up. Fire goes up. If I take a match and turn it upside down, fire goes up. Heat always rises. So the nature to rise in Klippa is arrogance. But the connection between the two things are because the more arrogant the person is, the more anger he has, because he cannot tolerate that something is not the way he wants it to be. And that's a result of Yeshus. So therefore, it can also lead to Gvura Klippa. How is Yeshus a source for Teferes of Klippa? So he explained that Teferes comes from the word Hispoer, which means to show off, to be proud. And he gives an example of people that do things, especially people who are very into doing things to impress other people, like very much obsessed with clothing, not clothing that they need just to be comfortable or to feel good about themselves, but what they need, they're always into, and spend a lot of money on that just in order to impress other people. That's the klipa of Teferes. Of course, Teferes means beauty, could mean in Kedusha, but here it's in klipa. How does Yeshus prevent the person from giving tzedakah?
Like, I need everything I have.
Right? A Yesh wants everything for himself. He can't bear the idea that I have to give away of myself.
They can't afford tzedakah because they have so many yachts.
What?
They can't afford to give tzedakah because they have many yachts.
Right. They have the yachts and private planes and 10 houses, and they just can't afford it. What does it mean that Amalek was the first? What does it mean literally, and what does it mean spiritually? Because the pasuk says, Reishis Goyim Amalek. The first of the Goyim is Amalek.
It's the first one that tried to like deal with us, like
The first one to attack us. That's the Gashmis. And what does it mean Baruchnis? It means it's the first, is what we just said, is the beginning and the source of all other Midas Rois. Yeshus is the source of all other Midas Rois. I just want to say, what's the connection between Amalek? The Gemara says about Amalek. I mean, we're going to learn about this more when we get to Purim, but I just give a little brief overview of the idea that as it's explained in Chassidus, all other klippas that a person has, it's really not directed against Hashem. So let's say the guy we described before, that he's a big Baal Taiva. He has passion for money, he has passion for power, he has passion for beautiful clothing. This person, his objective is not against Hashem. His objective is his personal pleasure. But his personal pleasure is so important to him that even if because of that he's going to violate Hashem's will, he'll still go ahead. But that's not his objective. And many times we see that a person who's very, very involved and very obsessed with all sorts of physical taivas and pleasures, when you explain to him that these things, that you think are pleasurable, I want to tell you there's something that's even more pleasurable than that, and you explain to him certain things about Torah mitzvahs, they'll change. So, for example, the way it's not something that's hard to understand, is happening every day. A person who's not from, just as an example, and when you talk to him the first time about keeping Shabbos, and they think keeping Shabbos is lighting Shabbos candles, they say no. Actually, you're not allowed to do malacha. You can't pick up the phone. You can't go into a car. You can't go shopping. You can't do this. You can't do that. Which normal person would want to take something on like Shabbos? Yet, there are many normal people that change their lives and they take on Shabbos. Why? Because they understand and later the mamish feel it, that why don't I want to keep Shabbos? Because I want to feel good and feel free. And then they realize that by keeping Shabbos, that actually gives them more pleasure than by not keeping Shabbos. Which means they're not out against Hashem. They want pleasure. When they understand that they'll get pleasure by following Hashem, they'll do that. Okay. Amalek is different. Amalek is clearly out against Hashem. There's a famous quote in reference to Amalek. Yedeyas Rabbeinu, he knows his creator, and he intentionally wants to rebel against him. Not he wants a taiva. This is his taiva, to go against Hashem. And that's unique to Amalek. So what is it in Amalek that it can't stand Hashem? It's basically Yeshus. And Yeshus doesn't allow a person to accept any kind of authority. Do you believe that it exists?
Amalek also found in Apikosim, like it's also like kind of because Apikosim like know that there is, but they don't believe in it.
Yeah, so it depends. A lot of people, they don't know. On the contrary, they think they're very smart and they don't believe this, they don't believe that. Here we're saying somebody who believes. For example, when Yidden went out of Mitzrayim, he knew for a fact that the Yidden, Hashem performed miracles, and yet he went against them. See, today, Amalek does something better. He says it never happened. Nothing happened. Everyone's looking at it. No, it didn't happen. Just lie straight in your face. Looks like Amalek didn't think of that. So he saw the miracles. He saw what Hashem could do. He saw Mitzrayim be completely wiped out, and he still attacked because Amalek is Yedeyas Rabbeinu. He knows his creator. They say that's the story. I don't know if it's authentic or not. There was someone in Russia from the Enlightenment movement that one of the biggest leaders there, they once met with the Rabbi Rashab. And later they asked the Rabbi Rashab, what does he say about him? So Rabbi Rashab said that even if you'd be standing by Kriyas Yamsuf and watch the sea split, he still would be in Apikoros, he still would not believe. That's an example of Yedeyas Rabbeinu and Mechavan Limud. That's what the Rabbi Rashab said. Then they asked him, what do you say about the Rabbi Rashab? So he said, Yedeyas Ha'olam and Mechavan Limud. In other words, he said he visited many other great Torah leaders, but a lot of them, there's so much in the world of Torah, they don't even know what's out there. He knows what's out there, and he intentionally goes against it. Basically, he was saying the reverse of what the Rebbe said about him and godliness. Okay. If one's yeshus is not so strong to bring them to actually violate Torah, just a yesh, why is it still considered extremely negative? Doesn't go against Torah, is just very much into himself.
Because he can be a vessel to Hashem.
Very good. Because if he has no bittul, then even though he's doing what needs to be done, but he can't really be a keli for godliness. Then we come to the last ice. How does one eliminate or reduce the yeshus? So first of all, if a person's a yesh, because he succeeds in Torah study, how can he get rid of it? What should he say to himself? Three things it says here. What?
I'm doing my job.
One of them is I'm just doing my job. What's the big what even
I
is?
have shlichut, everything I get is from Hashem.
Yeah.
And the last thing I do.
The other thing is when he starts realizing that the Torah is infinitely, infinitely greater than what he thinks. And then when he thinks, oh, I know so much Torah, once he realizes how big it is, suddenly he starts feeling how small he is.
So to make it like fixed more.
There's a passage, Rechava Miniyam, the Torah is bigger than the Atlantic Ocean. It's just like a person would have a cup of water and says, okay, the Atlantic Ocean has water, but I also have water. The water you have compared to the Atlantic Ocean, you can't even say the word, it's a joke. It's not even a comparison. There is infinite amount of water, and here is a cup or water coming out of a dropper. What is that? Totally insignificant. The more he understands, if he stops and thinks that the Torah is so much deeper, so much greater, then he will realize that even though I have a lot of knowledge, it's really nothing compared to what there really is to know. I told you my ice cream story.
No, you didn't.
Not in this class, no. Once when I was in school, I remember it was 8 years old, 9 years old, teacher was absent, and the principal had no substitute. So he told us to write a composition, write something, and whoever writes the best composition would get a tub of ice cream, like a big, big box of ice cream. What was the composition? He had to write, what is the difference between Torah and ice cream? So the boy who won it was not me, don't worry. The boy who won it, he wrote that ice cream, the more you eat, the less you have. The Torah, the more you learn, the bigger it becomes. I once got a question from one of the parents, and a parent Shabbaton, like, how many times could you study the 10 Commandments? So some people think the whole Torah is 10 Commandments. Okay. Then they find out, there's Chumshi Torah, there's 5 books. Then they find out, there's 20-something books of Tanakh. There is 6 volumes of Mishnayos. There's also 60 volumes of Gemara. Then there's Gemara Bavli, there's Gemara Yerushalmi, then there's Mefarshim, Rishonim, Achreinim, Halacha, Shulchan Aruch. Today they have a site, a website. I don't know, it's a website, whatever it is, a thing called Eitzra Chochma. Every single book that was ever printed of Torah that we have is on that. You can always find it on that. And there are millions and millions and millions of pages. And then when a person thinks of themselves, wow, I'm so great, they take one look over there, they realize what I know is nothing compared to what there is to know. Okay. I want to show you that at the end of all these questions, on page 20, page 26, you have a summary of the whole Maimer, just to see the flow of the whole Maimer. First the questions, then 2 parts of the Neshama, the time and the place to connect the 2 parts is during davening, and davening is Dafka on the Oretz, the whole thing in a very structured way. We do this with every Maimer. We have something like this. And my humble suggestion is that if you can find some time to try to look at this and see if you can memorize it. Maybe you can make a summary of the summary. If it's too much, maybe you can make a summary of the summary of the summary. A little summary, something small, and then what you learn will stay in your head a little bit longer, not just one day. Okay. Yeah.
All the stories that you read about with the Snap and how they were before they became Chassidim, and they didn't seem like that was how they became Bitzel, was through, like they figured I'm the greatest person so far that ever, I know the most of any human in the world. I don't know, how did that idea that Torah is infinite and it's way more than I imagined affect somebody who has such a deep sense of their own greatness?
I guess like everything else, I think even a person who knows the greatness of Torah, it's not going to affect them. The only time something affects you is not just, I know it. It has to be like a very concentrated thought process, almost like meditation, to think about it, lock myself into it, try to go into my head the details, how big Torah is, all the Mefarshim and all the Rishonim and all the Achreinim and the Gemaras, and you think about it enough, and then it could affect the person. One time, a second time, a third time. Naturally, this is a person that recognizes that he has something which is not in order, yeshus. And he recognizes that he wants to change it. But if a person doesn't even recognize that it's a problem, then there was a chassid that he told a story how he had a teacher who was a very big Torah scholar, but unfortunately he didn't have Chassidus. And he remembers that one time they were learning something, and someone said to him, Rashi says the opposite. Rashi says the opposite. So he said, listen, Rashi was the great person in his generation. I'm the great person in my generation. So Rashi can say what he says, and I can say what I can say.
The second question was, can Amalek become Gerim?
Amalek cannot become Gerim, but there's one of the difficulties with that is the Gemara says that the descendants of Haman,
They became Gerim.
they were learning Torah in Bnei Brak.
Right.
So this is one case where I remember the question, I don't remember the answer.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't remember the answer, but there's an answer to that, how it happened. And that's part of the reason why it says Amalek can be changed. Every other klipa could be changed once they recognize that the real pleasure in life is what Hashem wants, they'll change. Amalek, there's nothing that can change him. He knows about Hashem already. You can't teach him about Hashem. You can't reveal to him Hashem's greatness. He knows everything, because that's what happened in Mitzrayim. They saw with their eyes Hashem's greatness, and nevertheless, he was fighting it. So what could you do to him to turn him around? Nothing.
You could kill him.
What? Okay. It says that all the nations of the world, when Mashiach comes, will have an aliyah, except for Amalek. We can't do anything today because we don't know who Amalek is. And obviously Hashem wanted it that way. We should know who he is. But it means when Mashiach comes, all the nations will become serving Hashem. They'll turn around, except for those that are connected to Amalek.
But Rabbi Majeski, but we say that we are Amalek in us. So we also are part of it.
Right, so with our Amalek, we have to work with our Amalek. Our Amalek also you have to get rid of completely. You mean, how do you kill the Amalek inside?
No,
You have to wait for Purim. In the meantime, tell Amalek you make an appointment with him to wait till Purim, and then he'll take care of it. Okay, so what would you say is the main point of the whole Maimon altogether? I'm asking you, no one's going to answer me. No one's going to say. I mean, the main point is that Avodah is to connect to the source of our neshama, and the way to connect to the source of the neshama is through bittul. I mentioned when we started the Maimon also that this is in essence what this Kashrus to a Rebbe is about also. The Rebbe's neshama is the source of our neshama. What does it say about when we learned that Perek in Tanya, Perek Membeis, that Moshe Rabbeinu, and the same with other tzaddikim in every generation, is a Moshe Rabbeinu, that his neshama contains in it all the other neshamas. So our neshamas, this is the source of our neshama. By connecting to Moshe Rabbeinu, we're connecting to our source of our neshama. Okay, so tomorrow we'll start a new Maimon. Tomorrow's Maimon is in this book that we have on the table. This one, And it's a mimer from the Rebbe. It's a very, very famous mimer, and when we learn it, you'll see why. And hopefully we'll, yeah.
I didn't get that last part. What do you mean that the first of Neshama is the Rebbe's Neshama or emotional Neshama?
In every generation, there's neshama that's called neshama klolis, which means when Hashem sends out neshamas down to this world, He sends down Moshe Rabbeinu's neshama, and from Moshe Rabbeinu's neshama comes all the other neshamas. I don't know if you remember, I told the story that Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was teaching his students, and he saw that they were not so alert, so he asked them a riddle. And he said, in Mitzrayim, the woman gave birth to 6 babies at once. But one woman, she gave birth to 600,000 babies in one shot. And he asked them who she was. And they all really woke up. And they didn't know the answer. So he told them the answer is, her name was Yocheved. She gave birth to Moshe. And Moshe is equivalent to 600,000. So when you learn about this in the Medrash, you understand it this way. Moshe is equivalent, equals 600,000. When you learn about this in Chassidus and Kabbalah, it's more than that. His neshama actually contained in it all the neshamas of the generation. And therefore, when we say, I have to connect to the source of my neshama, the Rebbe's neshama is the source of all the neshamas of the generation. Or any tzaddik is all the source of the neshamas that are all connected to him. And by being connected to him, they become connected to the source of their neshama.
Wow.
Okay. That's all for Rabbi, everybody. We did attendance also, you just did that. Yeah.
Bye bye.
They was a building in Gaza